there's going to be like 1,100 people that are going to be out there in the market once everybody gets cut. So it might be easier to sneak somebody through. Yeah, I don't think we sneaking no Isaiah Land. Now, let me go over some of these defensive notes. The first one is the sad news, Demarvion Overshown. He is out for the season with a torn ACL, and I say the Overshown domino because there is a domino effect that comes into place. And I wanted to have this conversation because I'm noticing this on Twitter. People are saying, oh, you're fine at linebacker, just bring in one of the safeties to play linebacker. I get that from a package standpoint. Like that big nickel, these things, they're going to play that, right? But the reason why I'm interested in two things. A, either bringing in a linebacker, or B, seeing if guys like Brillo and Devin Harper can step up, is because you're going to need the depth you're going to need actual linebacker depth. If something happens to Clark or LVE, Jaron Kearse and Donovan Wilson are not playing full-time linebacker. I'll repeat, if something happen to Damone Clark or LVE, Jaron Kearse, Donovan Wilson, Marquise Bell, they're not playing full-time linebacker. They're not playing middle linebacker. They're not going to be doing these down in, down out things that you ask those guys to do. So that's why I'm interested in either veteran depth, linebacker depth, or seeing if a guy like Brillo Cox and Devin Harper can step up. Now, at this point in time, I think they're going to know. They're going to know if they feel good about either of these two guys. Both have had solid preseasons, if we're being honest. But again, it's preseason. In the regular season, you're going to get worked. And if you see it right here, I have role was in place. And this is what I mean for Demarvion Overshown. I truly do believe Overshown was going to have a role on his team. Was it going to be an every down role? Probably not right away. But I do think he was going to have packages where he came in here and did some linebacker things for you. You saw it. And I think that's why you see Dan Quinn so comfortable in asking LVE to take on another task. Asking him to, hey, do this. Because if you can get on the edge and pass rush, I can put Overshown and Damone Clark on the field together for 10, 15 plays or whatever. Without Demarvion Overshown, I'm looking into the market, whether it be right now with Rashaan Evans. That's a guy I've been high on from the jump. I would go out there and make a call, see what's up there. 100%. Or maybe you wait till cut downs happen and you see what's out there from a linebacker standpoint. Maybe somebody didn't quite fit, schematically elsewhere, or there had to be some cap casualties or whatever. And you scour the market. But I'm interested, me personally, Skywalker still, is interested in looking for a veteran out there or more depth. Cox or Devin Harper get turn to step up, though. If they stand pat, it should turn to step up. Mazi Smith, I have under here teach tape night. The big fella's going to watch this one, and he's going to boil because this was not a good night for the big man. It is what it is. After what I thought was a pretty good week one in preseason, he couldn't stack those games, right? The reaction he got in week one is the reaction that should have been for this performance because this was not a good one. He got turned a few times. He really wasn't good backside. He's still working on the get off. But when you see him put it together, when you see him use his hands, and later in the game he started to get off a little bit better, you saw what made him the pick that he was. But there was no consistency to it, and it was way more negative plays than there were positive in this game. And I think he'd tell you that. It wasn't a good night for him. It just is what it is. But my goodness. Social media went crazy. Look, you can live in a world where you say, hey, man, that was not a good game for Mazi. That was a teach tape night. While also not saying, oh, man, this guy's Taco Charlton. We got to be better than this. We have got to be better than this. And I understand that's a loud minority, but it's there. It's there. Nonetheless, not a great night for Mazi. He's going to go back, watch this, and I think he's going to get better for it. This is going to happen. This is definitely going to happen, especially when your principles or your philosophy of what you're doing on a defensive line is drastically different from what you did in college. It's going to take some time. You might see some days like this, but I think he'll get better for it. And you would rather this type of game happen now. You don't want this to happen during a regular season. You want him to learn from this, work on his technique, work on his hands, continue to develop that get off, which I don't think is going to happen overnight. I think that is something I'm learning is going to take some time with him. And hey, who knows? Also, maybe once you get to the regular season and you're next to a Jonathan Hankins or you're next to D-Law, you're next to Micah and these guys, things could be different for him. But from a game standpoint, week 1, I thought was great tape. I thought it was really good tape from Mazi. Week 2, teach tape. That's a teach tape one. They call him fat. Kelvin Joseph, are we ready to say boss man fat yet? Stock is up, y'all. Kelvin Joseph preseason has been so much better than in years past. He has stacked good games on top of each other. He had a few pass breakups on Saturday, and when targeted this preseason, he has a passer rating of 39.6. Oh, well, Sky, it's only preseason. I know it's only preseason, but again, much like Josh Ball, you are trying to get some positive momentum for guys that they look like they might be having a count on. And Kelvin Joseph is getting positive momentum. Look, I know we can hate Josh Ball, you can hate Kelvin Joseph, but if they do good things out there, you have to acknowledge it, or you just being phony. You just stick it to your agenda. Kelvin Joseph, the very first thing we said about him coming into this preseason was he was going to have to be loud. He's going to have to be loud. And he has been over the last 2 games. 39.6 quarterback rating when targeted. Yeah, it's preseason. But in his first 2 years, when targeted in the preseason, 118 passer rating. Year 1. 113 passer rating. Year 2. Maybe, just maybe, him moving inside to the slot has him feeling more comfortable. He played 33 snaps in the slot on Saturday. And look, you can hate the guy all you want, but it has been better for him in the preseason. Those are just facts. Those are just facts, man. Now, is it good enough for him to make this team? That is where they're going to have some conversations. If he continues to show in preseason that his stock is rising, and a guy like Eric Scott, who is a rookie, is not carrying over the camp to the preseason games. It hasn't been a great preseason for him. He's going to be here. He's not going to get cut. But I don't know, based off of just preseason games, that you can come out of these games and say, yeah, Eric Scott I'm depending on. Not saying I want to depend on the 5th or 6th corners in general, but nonetheless, it's a conversation they're going to have in there. And it can go deeper. You can go down to CJ Goodwin and all that good stuff, right? But Kelvin Joseph, I think his stock has been pointing up the last 2 preseason games, and he seems to be comfortable in that slot. And then finally, Isaiah Land. Just too much juice, man. Just too much juice. I don't put it this way. You know how we talked about there's going to be like 1,100 people that are going to be out there in the market once everybody gets cut. So it might be easier to sneak somebody through. Yeah, I don't think we sneaking no Isaiah Land. Don't think we sneaking no Isaiah Land. 2 games, he's got 8 pressures. He's got the sack. He's got 6 hurries. I don't view him as a linebacker. He's listed as a linebacker. Maybe they want to list him as an outside linebacker. This is a go get the passer. This is your Dante Fowler replacement in the future. Not saying now. I like Land, but I still like Fowler to just go get the pass rusher. And again, I'm trying to win 6, so I want all these dudes. I'd rather go deeper at the defensive end line and cut somewhere else as opposed to cut from any of my defensive ends or pass rushers just for the sake of keeping them. So Isaiah Land, I just think got too much juice. I think that, what you saw from a pass rush standpoint in college is starting to carry over here from an upside standpoint.